Okay, so I got into comic books in middle school because I was friends with this girl who like really, really loved American comics and Marvel comics. And I got kind of hooked on it too. So I had this like comic book store I would drive to like once a week or maybe once a month as soon as I was able to drive. And
Hmm.
these guys were like, there was like this one guy that worked there that was really nice. And I think they just knew I would, after a while, they just kind of knew I would buy anything that came from Japan. So, you know how like they hold your comics for you, like the ones you're reading? It would
Yeah.
be like every month they'd be like, here's the one you requested. But then we also put like, oh my goddess in here. Like, we think you'll probably like this. I feel like I spent like so much money on that. And it was at this time where like they were I don't even know if they still do this, but they were printing manga chapter by chapter in the same format as an American comic. So I'm sure if you added it up, it cost like so much more than just buying the manga volume. But I didn't care, and I still have like a giant pile of them. I think part of me hopes it's like a collector's item, while deep dark inside, I kind of know it's not
Yeah.
worth anything to anyone but me.
It probably isn't worth anything, but you can always eBay it, like look on eBay and see. Okay, so when I was in high school, I started working in a comic book store, and we definitely did that thing. Whereas, like, there were certain people who would come in that was like, this is the Wonder Woman person, and this is the Hulk person, this is the whatever. So, if there was like a statue coming in or like a new
Right.
series or whatever, if they didn't, even if they didn't tell us, we would be like, oh, we put this in your box. And it was also wild to see people who would come in. It was like this was their thing, and they would, or maybe they were just super rich and this was one of their many things, but they would spend like $300 like a week or a month on comics, and their box was a lot. It was like 50 comics, a week or something. It was
That's
just like they read
wild.
everything. There was also the people who, there would be certain like special editions that would come out. This was around the time that like Obama got elected, and there were some other things that were going on, like some of the Spider-Man movies. And so like there was this was pre like MCU as we know it today. And so I think
Yeah.
the comic book companies were just starting to figure out that like people would spend a lot of money for like this, and not just people who were comic book nerds, but like other people. Like Obama got elected and people heard there was an Obama comic, and so they wanted to come in and buy the Obama comic because it was about Obama, not just because they liked
Wow.
comics. And that was like a collector thing. So there was this other class of people who would come in and they would just look through this like special release that was like only in Las Vegas. We got this special Spider-Man variant, or we had the Obama comic, and they would come in and look at them because there's like certain ways for grading comics to see if they're like more valuable or not. So it's like the staples have to be placed correctly, the corners have to be pristine, like all this stuff. So they would come, and this is called mint condition. That's like the best condition, like new, never
Yeah.
been touched, never been read, like whatever. And so they would come in and like examine all 50 issues of the Spider-Man variant that
Oh
we
my
had to find
gosh.
the mint one so that they could sell them on eBay. The guy didn't even read comics. He just would like come in and do that. That was like his hustle, was like flipping special edition comics on eBay. Yeah, it was just an interesting place. There were all different types of people that would come in. But I remember this one guy, you would get people who would come in who were like, that stick out in my mind, like, 10, 15 years later. I still remember this. 15
Yeah.
years, I guess. There was a guy who came in and was just like, people would sometimes be like surprised because this was probably a marketing thing on the owner's part. If you're listening, like, hey, he almost everyone who worked at the comic book store was like a young woman or a girl, when usually at comic book stores it's like dudes, like,
Yeah.
quote unquote, like neck beard, like guys, the actually guys. So it was all like girls who worked there. So this guy came in and like saw me behind the counter, and obviously like was taken aback a little bit. And instead of just like being a normal human being, he like tried to, like, I don't know what he was going for or what he thought this was going to do for me, but he just like came in towards the front, and in the front we had like plushy animals and like the statues on display and like the supplies for keeping your comics. And then you had to go to the back to like look at the comics. And he just like stands there and he's looking at me and he's looking around the front and he's like, yeah, looks like a porn shop in here. And I was like, okay, like, thank you.
He's like read an article on the internet that's like bringing up sex in any context will get a woman thinking about it, and then your chances will increase.
But also, like, I was a high schooler and not like, oh, I'm 18. No, like, I was like 16. And it's like, I was young. You know, I looked young. I've always had a young face. And like, it's like, what do you think is happening here? Like, you're coming in here and telling a child that the place that they work at that is not a porn shop looks like a porn shop.
What
like,
happened? Like, what did you say? Or were you just like, do you need help buying something? Or like...
I think I was just like, oh, okay, never heard that one before.
Oh, yeah, I've said that before. Yeah.
I really actually haven't.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's nice. And he was like, okay, bye. It was like, goodbye.
And he left?
Yeah, I don't think he bought anything or like looked around that much after that.
Maybe it was a dare. I'm going to choose to believe that.
It could be.
I have a story like that, but it's not about comic book shops. It's like one time we were doing a cosplay photo shoot in a parking garage. I was dressed as Misa from Death Note. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cute outfit, you know, but like we were in the elevator holding like a box full of our props. And this guy was like full on gray hair, like over 60 years old. We're also in the elevator with us, and he just kept winking at me over and over. And we got out on our floor and I never saw him again. But I just remember thinking, what does he think is going to happen? Like, he's just gonna, like, the wink will let him know, will let me know, like what was supposed to happen there? Did he think I was going to follow him? Or like, I don't know, but I feel like it's that same energy of like, I don't know if you're just trying to tell me you appreciate like the blonde wig, or if this is supposed to be like a signal and I'm not getting it. So thanks, but no thanks.
It's like, has this ever worked for you before? Like, someone is like, you wink at them once and nothing happens. You wink at them 15 times. And on the 15th time, they're like, you know what? I can't help myself. Like, I'd have to talk to you now that you've winked at me 15 times. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
know either. Okay, well, I'm kind of curious about this too, but I guess we have gone on a long time. But I'm kind of curious, why did you want to work in a comic book store?
Oh, so growing up, my dad was really into comics, like had thousands of comic books. Okay. So I would go to that comic book store. I grew up going to the comic book store with him every week, every other week, every month or whatever to pick up his comics. So I read a lot of comics growing up. And so when we started going to this comic book store and I had another job and I was like, you know, I'm working now and I want to work here. And he was like, okay, sure. And he like gave me a shot. And then I worked there off and on, like through all of high school and maybe like the first year of college when I came back for summers, which honestly, looking back on it now, I think was more of a favor to me than he actually needed the help. So it was kind of nice.
The point is that we're real comic book girls that like actually read comic books. So we don't want to hear it. Like, we don't know everything. I'm not current. Okay. I'm like one of those MCU people that reads the Wikipedias all the time now, but don't come for us because we're here to talk about MCU today. That's why we're talking about comics. Right, Liz?
Yeah. Yes. That's why we're talking about comics. So,
and there are so many characters that we could be talking about. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but there's so many good hot baddies in the MCU. So which one did we choose to start with, Liz?
So we are talking about Killmonger from Black Panther. We're specifically focusing on Killmonger from the Black Panther movie that came out in 2018.
That's right. That's right.
And who are you?
I'm Miko. I'm your host. And Liz is your other host. I don't know if I just decided to introduce you.
I'm here for it.
And this is
the Hot Baddies Club.
I love those hot baddies.
like we said, we're talking about Killmonger from Black Panther, specifically 2018 Black Panther movie. Killmonger. We know that Killmonger is also in the comics, but we're focusing on the movie.
Played by Michael B. Jordan, who is a
Mm-hmm.
very talented person, also a
Mm-hmm.
very attractive person, but
Talented and fine as
oh.
hell.
And I don't know. Do we want to talk a little bit about why? Because there's so many characters, and there are other ones on our list. But I don't know. I want to hear what you think, and I'll try to think why I thought we got to start with Killmonger.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it, the details, and this is a little bit like why you might like it, but Killmonger is, I think, the strongest villain in terms of motivations in the Hot Baddie database, possibly. No other ones off the top of my head jump out to me as like most justified, most like just strongest character. And I would also argue, especially the way he's portrayed in the movie, the villain in the MCU with like the best like origin and story and reason for being a
Yeah.
villain, like most justified, most motivated.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong reason why we wanted to do him first in the MCU. I think he's definitely like first of all, Black Panther's definitely like it's got to be in like my top 3 Marvel movies, maybe, top 5, top 3 movies. And I think that a lot of the movies the villains are good, but they're like kind of so obviously like bad people that you're definitely against. And this was like a really it's so interesting and we're definitely going to dive into, but this is a character where you're really thinking like these are two sides and I understand both sides of this, and it's just really exciting to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance. And also in what we've covered so far, assuming the way we recorded is the way we'll release, our first true villain. Because, like, Vegeta starts as a villain, but he ends up being part of the crew. And that's not the case here. Like, Killmonger is a villain from the start to the end of this movie.
Yeah, yeah. And like I think also Vegeta is like the one that he's definitely killed lots of people, but you like don't know those people's names. It's kept pretty abstract, and it's because of the format of Dragon Ball Z, you're not really I mean, okay, yeah, he has killed people with names, but I mean like it's still like when it's presented in an anime of that type, I don't think it hits you. And I feel like the way it hits you in this movie, there are real consequences to things. And yeah, it I think he's just also got a lot of layers. And
Yeah.
that's what like I don't know which one of us wrote this. He's tragic, he's ripped, he's sad, he's justified.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that.
Does that encourage everyone to watch Black Panther if you somehow haven't?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what, there's not a stronger thing I can tell you other than that. Please watch this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to watch this movie in addition to Killmonger. We're going to focus our conversation on that, but I'm sure we're also just going to talk about how great
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther is.
Yeah, another, I guess, reason to watch Black Panther if you haven't, even if you're not into MCU stuff. I think Black Panther as a Marvel movie, like as an MCU movie, has a special like flavor to it, has a special like
Yeah.
spirit to it that a lot of the other movies don't have. And this isn't
Mhm.
about like quality just as much as like it's different. Like there's something special about it. And this is, it's based off of a black character. It's based off of a primarily black cast, and the casting is really good. The music is amazing. And it's just like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a lot of the other like Avengers or Iron Man or whatever. And I'm not saying bad things about them. It's just like this one is different and it's special and it's unique and it shows in terms of like the whole MCU.
Yeah, that's actually something I really like about the MCU. Like, yes, they are mainstream. Like they brought comics mainstream in a way that lots of people didn't realize I think could be done. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to just like the enormity of the task of making the MCU happen. Like when it all kind of began with like, Iron Man and Hulk and like Captain America and Thor and like, oh, we're going to have them all kind of combine into one movie. that alone was like incredible that all those people were on board and all the legality was okay. And, you know, there's just so much work going into bringing this to fans and to create new fans. Because I feel like at the time, people thought, I mean, like, I was always kind of like a sci fi fantasy person. So it didn't seem that weird to me to go see a superhero movie. And it's kind of hard to imagine now, but like, I think a lot of people sort of thought like more mainstream audiences just wouldn't see this kind of thing. Like it was too niche. And then when they were seeing it and they were coming in for it, then they got to expand to all these other IPs within Marvel. And just like you're saying, one thing I find amazing about it is that they all kind of follow a similar plot pattern that makes them really like easy to watch movies, like good action, good character conflict, humor that appeals to kids and adults. Like they all follow that, but each different main superhero, like there is that flavor. So like if you want something a little bit more humorous, you might, you know, be an Ant-Man fan. And if like you want that kind of like, you know, the edgy badass billionaire, you're probably an Iron Man fan, you know? And I think you're totally right. Black Panther, like the people that made it, they still kept that formula, but they were able to bring their culture and their personality and put the things on screen that they wanted to put in a way that they wanted to see it. And so it kind of tells you something a little bit about yourself too, like which movies you gravitate towards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge task and they are doing a lot. I mean, I always preferred DC over Marvel when I was like reading a lot of comics. And I do think that there's something that Marvel has been able to do that DC hasn't been able to do. And I think part of it is that they were willing to try and fail a lot. Whereas like DC is like, they tried, they failed, and they're like, we're not doing that anymore. And I don't have any inside knowledge, but this is just like my feeling. It was the same thing with the comics, whereas like Marvel was starting to do all these like whole universe crossover events, and DC started doing them, but Marvel was just doing more. Like they were doing stuff like Marvel Apes. Here's stories where all the characters are apes. They're doing Marvel Zombies. All the
Zombies.
characters are zombies.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to me, I was like, this is super kitschy. I just want to like read the stuff I want to read. And I hate seeing this stuff on the shelves. But they tried it and they figured out what worked. Like they have a formula and DC hasn't been able to crack that. And I think that's really sad because like to me, when I think about comic book heroes, and please don't, this is my personal opinion, no hate to whatever, but I think that like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, these are like iconic. Like when you think about comic books, like that to me is what pops out in my mind. And I think it's really sad that they haven't been able to like crack that code and give us those heroes in the same kind of like widespread movies.
Yeah, like it's working for some people, but it's not working at the same like big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have that machine. Like Marvel has created this machine, this like IP MCU machine, and like DC just doesn't have that right now.
Yeah, and I think that there's even been some other attempts. Like, I know there was an attempt to make the universe. I shouldn't say attempt because somebody who worked on this is going to be like, I'm crying because Hot Baddies Club made fun of me. And I feel that. But like, there is like they tried to do like a cinematic universe around like universal classic monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula and Mummy. And like it didn't quite take off the way they wanted to either. So it's like just not enough to just make a good movie, or like there's some secret sauce to the whole thing that's really hard to capture. And I think also just like Black Panther also, there was a lot of pressure for them to get this right. Whether you're a person that routinely watches movies that don't have white leads, or like you're like whether you're interested in diversity or not, like to me, I've always been interested in that because I'm half white, half Asian, and I don't see myself represented that often. And you know, I'm also like, I used to do a lot of martial arts, so you know, we were really into kung fu movies, and there's like just some interesting like history there were with like black audiences really loving kung fu movies like in the 70s because there were not, it was like like they thought it was cool to see all these Asian people in movies and stuff. And I think I'm not super knowledgeable about that, but wherever your knowledge is on this, the gist of it is that there are definitely people out there that just don't think a movie can succeed with like a woman lead or with someone who's not white in an American movie. And over again, that is not proven to be true. But also, I mean, it's just going to happen. Just like there's lots and lots of movies with white people in the lead that don't succeed. It's normal for like sometimes it's just going to be a bad movie or it's going to be a movie that doesn't make a lot of money. And I think all this to say, I think Black Panther was just under a lot of pressure to do well. And
Yeah.
for them to do as well as they did was like phenomenal. Like it's like if they had just been a normal MCU movie, that would have proven to some people that like, yeah, it didn't work or something. Like they couldn't just be average. They had to excel. They had to be 100 times better than people expected.
Right. I mean, this is like the phrase, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but like black excellence. It's like, it's not
Mm.
enough to just be good. You have to be perfect. And like, this is where this comes from because people are going
Yeah.
to judge you on other standards. So you have to strive to be not good, but like the best. And they really did hit that target. But yeah, like that movie coming out and being like, here's a predominantly black cast with black creators on the creator team and like music and all these things, and they actually hit it out of the park is so important. And it's just like it's hard to explain exactly why that's important because like you said, it's like people the people who look like the average person who gets to be in movies in Hollywood in blockbuster movies gets to make mistakes, gets to be in all sorts of different genres. And as soon as it's like, oh, it's a woman led movie, like, oh, it's a chick flick, or like, oh, it has a black cast, like, oh, it's a movie for black people. You know, it's like, it's not allowed to be its own genre. It's like, it's that genre, but it's like a subgenre because it has those people in it. And
Yeah.
so it's just really special that this movie got to be made with like the full Marvel magic treatment, the full force of the Disney money behind it, and just got to be another Marvel movie. But it means so much to so many other people, and it was so special, I think, because of that. It's like you get to see all these people who are royalty and compassionate and nuanced and
Yeah.
strong and smart and geniuses and like super athletic and superheroes, and they're also black, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just it's just really special.
Yeah, and I know we're going real deep into this diversity thing,
Yeah.
and I also feel kind of shy about it because I feel like I never say the right words that I want to say. But what I think you're also hitting at that is kind of a subtlety I'm not sure that everybody understands is like if you only have one person of a particular background in your movie, then they are also that character is also carrying the weight of other people's stereotypes. And so you're either reinforcing a stereotype or you're subverting it, you know, and either can be very powerful. Well, you know, it could be very powerful to subvert. It's usually not a good idea to reinforce, but it could just happen because you don't have really time to get there because your story is not about that. It could just happen for that reason and not something you overtly intended. Like if you put glasses on somebody, which happens in this movie, then they look smart. Like that's a thing that really fast the audience thinks they're wearing glasses, they're probably smart. It's a shortcut to understanding a scene, understanding a character, understanding a plot point. So in those ways, stereotypes can sometimes be they're helpful because they get you quicker into the narrative. But if you only have one person from a background, yeah, all of that from the person viewing or consuming the media, they're bringing all of their misconceptions or thoughts about that type of person. And when you have a cast that they are all from that background, now you can be free to look at each person and think of them as their personality, as their unique backstory. And that's why it's really cool to see movies like this whether it's like a cast of all women or whether it's a cast of all, Asian people or all Black people in this case. That's why it's really cool to see that, because it kind of lets you be free as an audience member of your own biases or your own like life experience and just kind of absorb the narrative more.
Yeah, you can just see like if you Google or not Google, if you go on YouTube and you look up like Black Panther reactions or whatever, I mean
Yeah.
you can find people doing good critical like media theory videos also, but you can also it's just like kids like Spider-Man. You know,
Yeah.
average kid like Spider-Man. I've never seen a video of an entire school cafeteria dancing and going wild because they're all
Yeah.
going to go see Spider-Man. And you saw that
Yeah.
with Black Panther. It's like, oh, this whole group of kids is going to go see it. And they are pumped because, like, you don't have that experience other ways.
Yeah. It's one of those
Yeah.
things that if you haven't had that feeling, you might not realize other people are like yearning for that feeling.
Yeah.
And maybe you also need that and you've just never even thought to seek it out, because I feel like that's happened to me many times, like just growing up, not really thinking about like the possibility of seeing like a lot of Asian women outside of Joy Luck Club, which like I like that movie and that book quite a lot. But that came out when I was like 8 years old or something. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Or did you ever had like things at school or on like early social media where they were like, make your profile picture the celebrity that looks most like you? And it's like,
ugh,
I don't know any half white, half black celebrities when I was growing
I'm
up.
still having that problem. Like,
Yeah.
I have every time throughout my entire life when people are like, oh, let's all talk about the celebrities that we look like. It's just like, I mean, it's like, okay, here's the part where I make my friends feel bad because, like, it's nobody, like
Yeah.
I think now there's like a couple of like Disney TV movie stars that are, but like, it's not my generation anymore, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a rough one. You also, so you talked a bit about your encounter with the character being from like your dad would really like Black Panther, but like you didn't really understand why he was cool at the time.
My dad, yeah, my dad liked Black Panther. I think he was more into Luke Cage because Luke Cage, like during that time that is like most formative for my comic book days, he was in some different stories
Right.
related to Jessica Jones too. And then there was also this guy at the comic book store that was like the Black Panther guy that got everything
Yeah.
Black Panther. And it was kind of slim pickings because there was just like not that much Black Panther stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't appreciate it now the way that I do going back and doing research and reading the comic. I was like, yeah, this is good.
I really don't like, I don't have any history with this character, to be honest. Like my first encounter with this character was in the Civil War movie when he showed up in the MCU.
Hmm.
So I kind of got into this place where like once I started to get really excited about MCU, every time like a new movie would come out, I would then like go on the Wikipedias and like read about all the characters. And in some cases, I would be like, in the same day, I would go from like not knowing who a character was to being like totally hyped they were about to enter the MCU to being outraged that they weren't going to be in the next movie, which is my arc with the Wasp. I was like, I don't know who's Ant-Man, and I look it up. I'm like, wait, why isn't the Wasp in this movie? Outrageous, you know but I finally got her.
Yeah. And this is just Black Panther, right? Like, we're not even like Killmonger was not on my radar at all. It's like you show
Yeah,
me a
I
comic
definitely didn't
book
know who he
cover, and I would
was.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's Black Panther. I didn't know who Killmonger was at all.
I'm not even sure I had seen Michael B. Jordan before, because the types of shows he was in, like The Wire, like it's just not the kind of thing I would watch because I'm not
Mm.
really into it. It's like a drama, right? Like a crime drama kind of thing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like
A
early
thriller.
prestige television. It's like a crime. It's like a political kind of
Yeah.
storylines. Yeah.
Yeah, so I essentially come into this with a pretty clean slate. Like I know about Black Panther from Captain America Civil War, which was a movie I really liked, but I tend to always be distracted by whatever Scarlet Witch is doing if she's on screen. So I think I was
Mhm.
mostly like, oh, look, everyone's fighting. Scarlet Witch is here too. That's really important to me. in like every
Yeah.
single movie.
I mean, who among us?
Yeah. So then I just kind of got to be totally excited and surprised by this movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we've like bared our souls, so we're talking so much about this movie and about Killmonger, but what kind of people would like to see what kind of people do you think are going to really dig Killmonger that should get to know him and give him a chance?
I mean, somebody who has a really compelling origin story. I
Yeah.
think you'll like Killmonger. Like I already said, that Black Panther is like a special MCU movie. So if you like seeing the types of stories that can come out of representative works, especially with like the biggest budget that you can have, I think
Uh-huh.
that's like a cool thing too. It's worth 2 hours of your time to just see what that's like.
Yep, yep. And I would also say that this movie has, regarding Killmonger, his personality and his agenda, I loved that there were a lot of unexpected twists and turns to his character arc in this movie. So if you like to be surprised, it was not what I thought it was going to be several times with his character. So if that's the kind of person that you get really excited about, I think you are going to really like him.
I think we forgot to mention at the top, but this is the spoiler free episode for the most part. So, next in part 2, we're going to get into all the spoilers. We're going to assume that you watched the movie, and we will tell you, well, it's mostly just the movie, but yeah, we're also going to go over our tags. We're going to do in part 2, we're going to do our tags. We're going to go over our first impressions of the character in the movie, the looks, personality, are they relationship material? We're going to have some listen along games, do our rating, and introduce them to the club. Induct them? That's what I wrote. Is that right?
Well, it's probably not induce them. I don't know. And then we'll officially welcome them into the
Yeah.
club. Yes. So in this case, we always love to tell you how to consume the media regarding the character that we're covering. And in this case, if you watch the Black Panther movie, you're going to be set for the spoiler episode. Liz has done some research on Killmonger from the comics, so we are going to also talk a little bit about that, but you will be okay to watch it if you've seen the movie.
Yeah. It's not required at all. We're mostly just talking about the movie. If you want to be super prepared for my listen along game, there is a link I'll put in the show notes that Marvel has of Killmonger's quote unquote hits from the comics. And it's just a list of a few series. You can either get Marvel Unlimited, which is like their own app where you can read Marvel comics, or you can do Comixology. I know Comixology has a month free, and then it's like $5 a month after that, and you have like unlimited comics that they have. I do know though that some of the series are not on Comixology, but they all look like they're on Marvel Unlimited. And this is not sponsored. But another thing that tripped me up was I had an Apple device and got Comixology, and I was like, how do I get the comic or buy the subscription? And you can't do it through the app. You have to go to the website and buy it there, and then it'll show up on the app because I guess Amazon doesn't want to pay Apple a cut of all the comics that they sell.
I mean, yeah, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
Or I just realized if you want to go old school, you could go to your local comic book shop and just walk in and be like, give me everything you got on Killmonger.
Yeah.
And then you're going
Yeah.
to be a story in someone else's podcast.
Yeah. They were like, you go in real frantic and be like, I have to study for the listen along game.
Tell them the hot baddies sent you. That's
Yeah,
our
they'll know
viral
what that
marketing
means.
campaign. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, libraries might also have it. There might be, you can do
Yeah.
it digitally or physical copies from the library too, potentially. There's more comic books at the library than you think.
Yeah, and the movie is on Disney Plus, or you can rent it on Amazon at this time for $4. I don't know if they'll change that or not, but
Yeah.
make a whole night of it. You know, turn the lights out, blast the sound, get some popcorn.
Yeah. Have a cocktail or a mocktail.
All right, so go ahead and check that out. Once again, my name is Miko. You can find me on Twitter or on Twitch if you want to watch me make games as Dr. Mikachu.
And I'm Liz. You can find me on Twitter at LizMakes and at Illuminated Space almost everywhere else. And you can find the podcast. The best way to find all of our social media is hotbaddies.club/links has our own link list of everything. And that's the best way to find it because we are at Hot Baddies Club everywhere except for where we are definitely not. And you'll know it when you see it. You can join our Discord community by going to discord.hotbaddies.club. Our theme song is The Hot Baddies Club by Ryako. You can find the song and the rest of her amazing music on her Bandcamp website, ryako.bandcamp.com. That's ryako.bandcamp.com.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
You've awakened inside me a feeling I cannot deny. You impress me, possess me, the thought of you gets me so high. Wanna stay here forever, the rest of the world can go by, but I don't know why. I just can't help myself.
Okay.
I just can't help myself.
Oh no. Okay. I feel like I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.